losing $3,028 trading target. What's going on, guys? Welcome on into the recap. They say, or my experience has been that all new accounts must be christened. And I haven't had very many situations where upon starting a new account, we just have a couple of winners to start things off. No, it's almost always, nope, you are immediately going into drawdown because we are going to test you, and then you're going to see if you can get out of it. And I've managed to get out of it every single time, and we've managed to make money over the past 2 years. However, this is yet another example of that exact situation playing out in real time. So I'll talk about this trade partially. Well, honestly, 100% is on me, but like partially stuff I couldn't control. But at the same time, like I could have controlled by not being in the trade, technically speaking, you could say. But you'll see what I'm getting at as we get into it. So this was on target. It was a false breakdown or a failed breakdown trade. But as you can see by the writing on the wall here, tariffs. As I pull up the Russell, we are down 6.5% since yesterday's close, which is kind of crazy. The S&P's down a shit ton, and we're just down everywhere pretty much. Well, not everywhere. There are some sectors that are actually doing okay. TLT specifically is doing pretty well. But Target is currently down nearly 12%. Actually, it was just down 12% on the day. And as you can see by my 5-minute chart, which I did not trade on the 5-minute time frame, but I'm just going to depict this or set the scene for you. We would have hit the stop loss last night. However, with the platform I'm using to trade, I can't trade in the pre-market or after hours. So it's only from open to close. Not a big deal for most of my swing trades. Really isn't a big deal. This time it kind of was. So I ended up losing about a little over $1,000 more than I planned to lose on this specific trade. Basically, based off how based off the risk on this $200,000 account, I'm looking to risk just shy or just about $2,000 on a trade. And, so the rewards are 3,000 plus usually. Well, yeah, usually on the trades. So not terrible because technically speaking, if I have a winner, I should be able to make it back, maybe even a bit more depending upon what the next trade is. So it's fine. It could have been worse. It certainly could have been worse, but that's kind of the situation. So here's the daily chart, and I'll get into kind of why in the trade was taking in a second here. But if you look at this trade, really you had two examples or two situations that were like picture perfect false breakdown setups that I like to trade. Not super often, but when I see them, then I take them. Like they're not common. So when I do get them, I'm like, oh, I want to play it. So, you're moving down in the bigger picture. Yeah, Target isn't the strongest of stocks, but I guess that could be where, I go wrong on this trade. You know what I mean? I guess the bigger picture, you can say this zone was kind of like right in here, it's kind of a support. So it wasn't like maybe as strong of an uptrend, especially as of the downtrend as of late. So, more so I'm seeing is like, as I'm looking at it now, it's more so just kind of like wedging, bigger picture, like huge picture. So when I swing, I like to look at the bigger picture. But you could say that the overall momentum was down. Yes, I get it. But coming down to an area we have bounced before, and then I got my signal. I'm interested in playing a false breakdown. So the first step in the process here was this, which was this day right here. So we had the setup, right? This is my breakdown setup. I'm looking for this type of setup, and then I want to see a breakdown, close below the level, and then we hammer it and we get in short. I didn't go short. I went long. Why? Because we ended up coming down below that level. We had huge volume. Like this is a huge amount of volume. And then we closed above the level. So it's like, here we go. We're going, and then, oops, sorry, psych. And we're going back up. And that's usually a great setup. Now, is it a guarantee? Absolutely not. This is just like anything else. There's no guarantees. Nothing's a guarantee. But it's a pretty good probability. If I got that setup 10 times, there's a good chance that 5 of those 10 times, actually probably even more, I don't know, but good chance that 5 of those 10 times it will work. And then on those 5 times that it works, I'm going to make more than the 5 times that it loses and doesn't work. That's the idea. That's all it is. That's simply all it is. Just building a strategy around like getting a signal that you can replicate, that you can see. Now, is it very, very common? No, but you can. This will happen again, and it will happen many, many times on different charts. And the same thing on the inverse, right? When false breakouts, like it will be the same thing. And you just structure the trade in a way where over a larger sample size you make money. That's the idea. But so what ends up happening day one, like or day two of being in the trade, looking pretty good, totally fine. Oh, we're making a move, looking for a push up to this volume node right here. This was looking to be approximately a 1.75, yeah, about a 1.6 to 1 risk reward. Okay, fine. We then have this day right here, which is the exact same thing almost on this target. We break this level, but then we come back above it and close again above. So we never actually have a closing candle below that initial breakdown point until probably today. It's 11 a.m., but I mean, chances of us reversing back up to 104 by 4 p.m. in the next 5 hours is probably not going to happen. It's going to take us about like a 10% move back up. I mean, it could happen, I guess. It's like not likely to happen. So that's it. But the problem that I had, or the issue, was that I don't pay attention to the news. And to be honest with you, it's been good. It's been a net positive in my life in many respects. However, the Trump tariff day, whatever you want to call it, the day of reckoning, was Wednesday afternoon after the market closed. Now, I didn't really think, to be honest, too much of it. I thought that to a degree, we all kind of knew it was coming. Yes, the market had been pricing it in. If you jump back to SPY, I had felt pretty good about, okay, well, yeah, like the tariffs isn't the whole reason why. Maybe, you can never put a pinpoint answer to it, but it wasn't like a large part of this reason why, or the narrative, as to why we've been going down the past couple of weeks wasn't the narrative to tariffs and concerns, right? And so, okay, yes, now he's implementing them. Cool. Were we actually thinking he was just bullshitting? And is now they're actually happening? Oh shit. And then why is now the 10-year, for example, plummeting? Wouldn't this mean higher inflation potentially, right? So there's a lot of, back and forth, or there's a lot of questions to be had. Either way, my issue or situation on this trade was that I was not necessarily thinking that this was going to be a big moving, market moving thing in terms of news. And it ended up being a much bigger deal. Now, certain stocks more than others. I have an open position on CVS, which, by the way, looks totally, it got very close to taking me out, but looks fine. It's actually barely even down. Could even finish the day green for all I know. You jump down to Target. They had recent lawsuit news that came out after I got in the trade. So, what are you going to do? You look at a stock like Walmart, on the other hand, like Target, Walmart kind of go hand in hand, you'd think. And it's a much different looking chart. Now, I didn't trade this. I just kind of marked it off to kind of follow along. But yeah, you had this it never actually broke down. You had the potential for a breakdown right here. It never actually broke that. Then it broke this little downtrend. Now it's trending back up, and it's actually very, very strong on a day where there's so many things that are down so much. So it just depends upon, where you're looking. And it just so happens sometimes you're going to get caught up in these stocks that, you can't control the individual news and how they react to certain other news that you, again, can't control. So there's a reason also why I size the way I do, because the way I size, if that happens, now I've always known it could happen, where you have an overnight gap down that it goes down more than my original stop loss. Now I ended up getting filled on this trade at 97.67. So it could have been worse. If I jumped down to Target, it could have absolutely been worse. If you go back to this thing, we were 97.67 was around the open. Yeah, like the open, it kind of upped. Had this little green candle off the open. Let me just adjust this chart back to where we were. Yeah, it had this little green little pop first 5-10 minutes of the day right here. And then it kind of held up okay, and then it just kind of flushed out to new lows. But I got taken out in that open. So it could have been worse. Let's say that, we opened up down here. I could have lost a bit more. But the plan was to lose around 1,900 or so on the trade. We end up losing 3. Not the end of the world. We'll see what happens. Just to kind of throw like because we're trading with a larger size now. So yes, it's going to sound crazy. Now, of course, this is a brand new channel, so maybe it won't be that crazy. But for people who've been coming over from the other channel and watching, oh my God, dude, you haven't had, months of that size. Yeah, I mean, I haven't. Now I'm trading with larger size. This is what we're doing. This is the whole point. But for example, I'll talk about the CVS, which by the way is right around my entry point. So I just looked at the CVS, trade. This looks like a pretty. We'll see how it closes today. It looks pretty good. Not to try to put our eggs in one basket. No, there's no eggs get divided up into different baskets because every trade is its own thing. I'm not doubling down on a trade because it looks better than this one. No, I don't do that. Now maybe that's something you can do. Maybe I will do it one day. I don't know. I don't have the confidence in doing that in my system. I don't feel like I need to do that. But for example, I looked at this trade. Same thing. We're looking to risk about $2,000 on this trade. However, this is a 2.36 risk reward. Why did I come out to that 2.36? To be honest with you, yeah, I see why. Exactly why. Volume node up here, just north of 73. So I'm looking for a move up towards 73 on this CVS, and I'm fine holding this one out for the next month. They have earnings in about a month. Totally fine holding it for another month. I've been in it for a couple of weeks, 2 weeks as it is, but totally fine if it goes for another month. So my thought on this one is, if this, or not thought, we're risking 2 to make over 4. So just to kind of frame you, right, like in how the sizing, now after we give more trades, you'll see them, and we have a couple winners, have a couple losers, you'll start to see how things play out, because of course it's in theory, it's one thing, but then is the execution going to actually be like that? Well, that remains to be seen. Will I have any impacts mentally? Because I don't think so. I do not think so because of the size. I really don't think so, but you never know. We'll see. I'm going to post the trades here. So if this works, we make over $4,000 on the trade. We lose 3 on the previous trade. If we're operating near 50% and we're making more in the winners and we're losing, great. Now, if we just lose what we plan to lose, target, and didn't have the overnight news gap down stuff, which is going to happen very rarely, but it can happen, then, you mean better situation, right? Where you lose, 2, or the plan was to lose 1,900, then the next trade you make 4,200 or whatever the number is. That's pretty good risk reward if you ask me. It's over a 2. So that's the situation. Nothing super crazy about it. This has been a pretty strong stock. I like the setup on it. So we're going to ride. If it falls below 65.50, we're going to be out. Had it almost got stopped today. Very, very close. Didn't get stopped. And so we live to fight another day on this trade. But if it loses, it loses. It is what it is. It's really all it is. We'll look for the next ones. And in terms of vision for like market and stuff, I'm in a tough spot because, to be honest, I don't like the trades that we're seeing now. It's news driven, so you're getting these breakdowns, your news driven breakdowns. Cool. Will that hold? I don't know. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm very skeptical, to be honest with you. I look at stuff like this all the time, fear and greed, to get a sense. Dude, we are in some of the most extreme fear that I have seen in a while, that we've been holding for so long. Like, we have held down in extreme fear for a while. We got up into fear for a couple of days, and then we've come right back down to a new low of extreme fear. And on top of that, if you go to AAII sentiment survey that we always get every week, we have been drilling lower, and this is the most bearish sentiment has been right now. Crazy. So my situation is, when you look at these numbers and look at how bearish it's been for now, going back to the end of February, so over a month, when I look at these things, I'm not obviously we've had breakdowns. So what I'm going to need for playing the short side is at least a period of consolidation. So I need that. So there's not going to be a lot of shorts, I don't think, unless they're intraday, which I would rarely trade, but not going to be a lot of shorts that I like right now. And then you pair that, I'm just sitting back saying, I would be asking to get slapped on the ass with a massive short squeeze because everyone's short. Bearish sentiment is super high. We need a reset to initiate the next leg of shorts. That's what I would want to see if I was looking for the short side. So it's a tough spot. So I'm just going to kind of let it be. I don't feel like there's a need to try to force anything on the short side. The long side, there's just not going to be many setups. I mean, that CVS, to be honest, is an outlier. That is a crazy outlier. This is the crazy thing to me. Maybe there's some other news there. I have no idea. I don't really think. I don't pay attention. I just look at charts. It's about to go green on the day. This is with a super weak market. You would not expect that. I wouldn't expect that. I would not. But if that's what happens and we get any bounce in the market, one would think one would think you're positioned in a pretty good spot. One would think. Is it how it works out? It doesn't always work out that easy. Absolutely not. No, but one would think. So that's kind of where my mind is at. I'm totally fine chilling on CVS. If we get a bounce and it gets some tailwinds to push it up to 73, let's go, dude. And then we can kind of see how the dust settles after that. If it kind of rolls back over and the market stays weak, it rolls over and we lose. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. You lose 2 trades, it's not the end of the world. If I lost 6 in a row, I'd be like, okay, now we got a problem. But it's 2 in a row. It happens a lot. It happens all the time. You can have 3, 4 winners in a row and then have a couple losers in a row. It's the same. With the wins, you must accept the losses. Is what we say. So that's the trade recap. We can't really now look going forward. It's good that I started kind of fresh the month of April. We cannot really look at like the past anymore in terms of P&L. We can look at other things, but not in terms like win rates and average risk reward numbers and stuff. But like P&L specifically, it's gonna be tough. Like it's gonna be from April of 2023 to April to like end of March of 2025. And then it's from April 2025 on. Like that's how we can now compare, because the sizing is going to be just dramatically different on TradeZella here. So if you want to use TradeZella to track your trades like I do, I'll leave a link below. Like always, code TC10 saves you 10%. I should have all my links below. I don't know. There was like starting a new channel. YouTube is kind of weird about the links. So if I have them, I have them. If I don't, I don't. But I'll leave those down below like always. And I will see you guys in the next recap. Peace.